Welcome to episode 181 of the Blue Recluse. My name is Martin Larsen, and you're listening to the podcast about everything Blizzard. It's Sunday, March the 11th, 2018, and with me today, all the way from America, I have you, Michael. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. I don't know what happened on that introduction, but I appreciate it. I'm ready to go. It's Sunday. I'm feeling pretty good. I've had an extra hour to prepare, so I'm feeling awake, ready to go. I'm 1 cup of coffee in. Good.
Very nice. And always from the other side of the pond, from America, it's Ryan from the Blizzard Umbrella. Why are you here?
Well, I'm standing in for Northern Ireland today, trying to do my best. One Irishman for another. So, yeah, man, coming in to sit in, have some fun, talk some Blizzard. Let's do it.
Very good. And I am a little tiny bit hungover today because I had birthday yesterday.
Woo!
I dinged 37. It's a boring level because there's no new skills, there's no new anything. It's just one of those levels you need to grind through.
In fact, you lose a talent point because your dexterity is going down.
Wait, you said you ding. Don't you gain full health and everything once you ding? Like, why are you hungover? How does this work?
Because I started drinking after I dinged.
Okay.
He's past the age where he recovers health now. Instead, it just slowly goes down.
You said the diminishing returns?
Yes.
Yeah, something like that. So I think it's just, let's just jump into it and get the show started and over with so I can get back to bed.
Here I come.
I sense something elusive. Stay a while and listen. Well met. You are not prepared. This better be good. Existence is mysterious.
Loud and clear.
Hello there.
Greetings, traveler, and welcome to the Blue Recluse.
So Tom is not with us today, not because he's dead or something. He just had other things to do. He's not with us.
That's true. That's true. He is not here. He is not here physically with us on the Blue Recluse. He's here with us in spirit, though.
Very much.
Can I just compliment that intro? I swear, even when I listen to it now, I still feel like before I was even a member on the Blue Recluse, just listening to it, and I used to get hyped, and I still get hyped when I hear that intro. It's just so good.
Are you prepared?
Always.
Good. I thought, I was about to say, we thought that since Tom is not really playing World of Warcraft, but all the three of us are, maybe we should talk a little bit about World of Warcraft, and specifically, what the hell you're doing at this point in the expansion, because there's not really a lot of new content going on right now, and you're sort of just in a weird position where you're waiting for the new expansion to drop. So, Ryan, for instance, what are you doing right now in World of Warcraft?
I don't know, man. You tell me. Just doing the grind of the Mythic rating, I was telling Dusty this week on the Blizzard Umbrella, I'm really itching to get Mythic Argus down so that I can kind of devote some more time to doing just stuff I want to. I had to cut short some Mage Tower grind for my Werebear appearance the other day because of school and raiding and whatnot. So hopefully I can start devoting some more time to that. And I was talking to Michael before the show. I'd love to maybe grab one of my alts and start doing some heroic raiding with just a casual guild for fun, but can't do that right now while I'm trying to grind out Mythic Argus.
Can I just say how much I hate that he just casually throws out there, I just want to go heroic raid for casual stuff, no big deal. Just jump in there. Meanwhile, I'm over here just like, oh my god, they asked me if I want to do a boss on heroic. Just stressing out over one, and he's just like, yeah, I'll jump in there for a bit, down every boss in about 2 hours, no big deal.
Yeah, I think you and I, Ryan, we're probably doing the same things right now because I'm working towards those mythic kills as well, and as something in our guild we really like to raid. So we're starting doing the old raids as well. We've cleared normal quite a few times, like just in one evening with alts, a few mains. There's some people who don't play alts, but they just still enjoy, hanging around the raids and help us out. For myself, I'm still healing. That's what I do. I heal, but on the old raids, I'm healing on the druid. So a little bit of druid healing going on. So we that's what we're doing, and that's what I'm doing after this podcast.
Nice. I am not raiding as much right now. Work has kind of been a bit crazy, so I haven't been able to raid every week. Sunday we have our alt raids, which for me is a main raid. Oh, I like it. I always know when it's gonna be a bad time or a good time based off of the DPS meters. If I usually see myself in a top 3, I'm like, ooh, we might start having some trouble around there in Athens or something. Unless somebody switches. But it's both good and bad. I like seeing my name up there, but I also am anticipating what's going to happen once I get there. I'm like, crap, I'm high on the meters. That is not a good sign for us as a raid group right now. I don't know about you guys, but I've actually kind of jumped into more profession things. I'm still not max in any of them, so I've kind of been mining, fishing, and kind of dabbling into possibly looking into that, what's it called, the angler, the artifact angler.
Oh, don't do it, Michael. Don't do it.
I got nothing else going on. I need to put that artifact power in something, because right now my main weapon, I could get all artifact power in the world and it's just not going up. It's not going
So
up.
wait, you want to level your fishing rod, right? You
Yeah.
are aware that the artifact power that you get, you can't just put straight into the fishing rod, right? That's like a special fish that you need to fish up.
Oh, don't I need to get, I need to get all the stuff, but right now I'm just preparing for it. Like I'm nowhere near, what's it called? Nowhere near able to get that fishing thing. I'm in like 300 or 400 and something fishing skill. So I'm still trying to fish everything up just to get used to it and actually learn, because there's more to fishing than I thought.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I got done fairly early on in the expansion, just because, I was just trucking out there and just getting everything done as fast as possible, because I knew if there's one thing I don't want towards the end of an expansion, it's fishing.
I just just yesterday I spent like an hour and a half just kind of roaming around the pools, figuring out what the hell a lure was used for, just kind of doing things, mining everything, blacksmithing, cooking, trying to actually be a use to my raid group if I can cook some things that might be useful. So that figure, he's low on the DPS, but at least he brings food. I could be that guy. He's not the best, but he brings pizza, so he's all right to have around.
Yeah, I actually think that the artifact fishing rod, you can actually do it in a few hours if you prepare for it. Maybe I did it over 2 evenings or something. Maybe it's not too bad to do, actually, as long as you just start out getting all the lures that you need from the mage dude. And I basically just followed a guide from Wowhead or something, and so you can do it fairly quick if you just grind it out a little bit over. I think I did it in 2 nights, as I said.
Do you know if you have to be max level in fishing, like the fishing,
no,
max level, or you can like?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
Is this artifact weapon is the artifact fishing pole gonna carry over, or is it gonna go away with everything else?
That's a good question. I actually haven't heard anything about that. I think somewhere in the back of my head, I recalled something about that. They said that you were able to keep it afterwards, but I'm not completely sure. I can see we have a few people in the chat, so if they know, okay,
yeah,
it actually carries over. Thank you, Stone from the World of Warcraft challenges, WoW challenges. So thank you for that.
And this is why we went live, so that we can get the tough answers answered right away.
Yeah.
Such as, does the artifact fishing pole carry over? I would actually hope that they would continue things like this. I think that it's a really cool idea, like adding something to your profession, like a quest chain type deal to get a fishing artifact. I'd like to see more things like that. I'm pretty sure there is. I'm just like so oblivious to other parts of the game that I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, I liked what they did, sort of liked what they did with the professions this time around, that there was quests attached to it. I just think that some professions, they overdid it a little bit. For instance, alchemy. I remember that took for ages to get through, and some of the others, I haven't done all of them to max and done everything yet, but I think it was like a step in the right direction, but they don't really hit the mark yet. I don't know, Ryan. What did you think about professions in Legion so far?
I absolutely hated them at the start because buying potions and flask was ridiculous. But I don't know how much you've been keeping up with it, but I know like first aid is getting rolled into tailoring. It's pretty much going away, going into BFA, and I think compared to Warlords, professions was better this go around. Like you said, there was more to it outside of a strict need for the raid scene. But I still don't think it was enough. And I think if you're going to keep professions in the game, they need to keep moving down that line of introducing things that give players something to do, other than do them for rating or mythic pluses, you know.
Or the auction.
And I also think I think it's a little bit like, for instance, enchanting is useful all the way through.
Mhm.
Alchemy is useful all the way through. But something like tailoring or leatherworking or blacksmithing doesn't feel. It feels like it has a place at the beginning of the expansion. We could grab some gear that you actually want to use, but after that, nothing too much actually happens to those professions that keep them relevant. And I think that's a huge issue that they somehow need to figure out, because just adding one recipe throughout all the patches afterwards doesn't really solve anything. Sure, you can make one. We could make one legendary, and I know someone who has earned a lot of money doing that, but it's just it feels a little bit boring and lazy to me, to be honest.
Or
In my opinion, if they moved back to a system where each profession had something to offer, like tailors offered some sort of leg enchant, like I know they moved away from that just because it got way overdone. But they don't necessarily need to go back to the system of, you know, like each profession has something unique to them, like enchanter or blacksmith get an extra gem slot or whatever. Like, don't do that. But like maybe blacksmiths could make, like, I don't know,
bigger
a
bags.
weapon modifier, bigger bags, you know, just something that they could offer that keeps them relevant throughout the length of an expansion. You know, it might be worth keeping at least one of them around in a guild.
Yeah, exactly. Because right now I only level those professions on my alts just to see what kind of quest is hidden behind it and things like that these days. But besides that, I mean, all other alts. I mean, I have each one of each profession, but the rest of my alts is just herbalism and mining, to be honest, because there's not really a point in having anything else.
I just, every time I look at other professions that I'm not a part of, I just simply Google, if I'm looking up tailoring, for instance, I'll just be like, tailor specific mounts, engineering specific mounts, to just see if I can get those. And then I go to the auction house and I'm like, crap, I wasn't around for Warlords. I don't have enough gold to buy that crap. It's too pricey, some of that stuff. And then people like Ryan, you know, just go in there, oh, 800,000 gold, no big deal. I'm just gonna go farm heroic raids for a while. No big deal. Just get gold.
No, but besides that, if we have to continue a little bit down the road of what do you do at the end of an expansion, if anyone in the chat has something to say as well, just what do you guys? The question for you guys is, what do you do towards the end of an expansion? I think I know what Stone is doing, and we'll probably talk about that in a little bit. But one of the other things that I love to do is play through my alts, and I think that's something that is really interesting in Legion, because every class has a lot of class-specific quests and things like that, and some of them are really, really good. Some of them is also not so good, but. I mean, but that's what I'm doing right now. Recently, I'm playing my warrior quite a bit, and actually found a spec that I really enjoy, Fury, by the way, which is really good fun right now. I don't know if I play it correctly or anything, but stuff is dying, so that's the main point right now. I don't die, other stuff is dying. But yeah, you guys, are you all alt players? Let's start with you, Ryan. Do you play alts?
Yeah, I
Does
try
Ryan
to.
play
It's been a little
alts?
hard these last couple of months, just with school. But normally, I typically have one alt that I'm keeping up to speed and spending a lot of time in outside of raids. But yeah, no, I play alts. I have 13 110s right now, so I can't say no to that question.
Hmm.
How
How
many
about
do
you,
you have,
Michael? What do you?
Marty? How many do you have?
I have. All right, let's see. I have one of each class, and then I have the 4 allied races as well. So how much?
At
is that?
110?
No, not a, no, not a 110, but
Oh, okay.
that I'm working on.
I
I
thought
have
it was
one of
at
each.
110. I was like, damn.
Sorry, no. I have one of each class at 110, except for monk. My monk is only 101, but everything else is at 110. Then I have the 4 allied races that I'm just sort of playing through to have a little bit of fun with. And I think my paladin, which is a space goat version 2.0, is like level 35, I think, and my void of hunter is level, what is it, 68, I think, and the 2 horde sides ones I haven't touched yet.
I have.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I've got the allied races. I just haven't touched them very much.
I have a few that I'm trying to work towards. I have a problem where I know that there are methods to leveling up quickly, but I try not to do those because I want to like still kind of experience it the way that it's kind of meant to be experienced. And I think we've kind of discussed this before where I hate leveling in a different spec than the one that I want to play as, which is a big issue because I do have a Worgen Holy Priest that I'm leveling, and he doesn't hit things very hard, it turns out.
Nope.
So I'm just there spamming Flash Shield to keep myself alive. I'm really enjoying some of the story stuff that I never really experienced with the Worgen. I think that's pretty cool. I also have a Demon Hunter. I'm doing the tank spec for it because I kind of miss tanking on my Paladin, but I don't want to switch back to the Protection Paladin because I like the mobility of the Demon Hunter. And I've actually kind of been thinking about trying another one, but I have to work on these ones. I just keep getting sidetracked and leveling up a bunch of different things. I have a level 60 something mage that's still stuck in Outland somewhere. Have not touched her in quite a while, but I could bring her up to speed. I could bring the priest up to speed. I could bring the demon hunter. It's like 102 at the moment or something like that. So I dabbled in, and I still need to do. I haven't pre-ordered BFA, so I can't do the allied races yet.
All right. Let's have a quick look at the chat. Stone from World WoW Challenges says near the end he tends to make sure all his classes on both factions get to max level.
Wow.
On both factions. Holy
Ooh,
cow.
that's potentially 24 110s. That's nuts,
That is a lot of characters. I wish I had time to
23
do
more
that.
than me.
right?
That's a bit. And Olisand also says that usually at the end she does fishing, herbs, and play other games a little bit more. Alls, and this time around she got 16 alls to finish. No time to stop. So, yeah, I think it's pretty much what we have been talking about as well. Right?
Now, I have a question for you guys because you guys have been around the game just a little bit longer than me. Do you wait until, like, let's say you're planning, this is probably mainly for Ryan because Marty, you've been a priest since the beginning pretty much. So if you're planning on switching specs or switching classes at all, do you wait until the new expansion is coming, or do you start trying to figure out where you might want to switch before the next expansion comes out?
I've been thinking about that before they even announced the name of the next expansion. I think Marty knows this. I don't know if you know this, but I've played a new main character for each tier. So
yeah, each raid you've been a different one. I remember you had a warlock. Didn't you have a death knight at some point? Am I wrong?
No,
Priest.
so yep, Shadow Priest, Frost Mage, Fire Mage for the first 2 tiers. Shadow Priest, Elemental Shaman, and Warlock
So
have been my mains.
let's say you were thinking about switching to Elemental Shaman as like your main. They're recently making some changes. Have you seen any of those? Like the way it plays a bit?
Yeah, I definitely saw the very first build. It was kind of a throwback to, gosh, almost the end of vanilla BC elemental shamans in terms of they just were super fast paced once they reached max gear and whatnot. But they've already toned some of those changes back and kind of brought them more back in line with what they are currently at in Legion. So I'm excited for the way elemental shamans are going to play as their current iteration stands in alpha, but with me and my need for change, I probably won't play my elemental shaman in BFA. So I don't know. Marty and I actually go ahead.
What's your preferred style of play? Like, do you prefer melee? Do you prefer range? Do you prefer like standing still and kind of shooting things with spells, or do you prefer on the go hunter style?
Ryan is definitely a healer. All his characters are healers, and that's all he does, right?
It changes. I've had expansions where I strictly healed all of them. I had an expansion where I was trying to play melee, but my tanks kept quitting in the guild I was running in Wrath, so I ended up tanking all of Heroic ICC. Other expansions I've played all melee. This one I strictly made it a point, told myself from day one I'm only going to play ranged. So right now I'm leaning more towards playing all melee or support in BFA.
And we all know where Marty sits.
Yeah, the thing is that I usually play healers. I don't know. It's something I've done since vanilla, and it's something that I really most of the time enjoy doing. Except in Cataclysm, where I moved away and started doing to playing a DPS class because I just really didn't like the healing model. But now I'm back around to healing again, and I really enjoyed healing most of this expansion. I think all the healers has actually been in a decent state all the way through. So I mean, sure, I main my holy priest, but I do try out all the healing classes during the course of an expansion just to see how it is. Also, because it's always nice to know about how the other classes actually play, because especially in a raiding environment and me being like a healing officer, to actually know how they play, so I can better set like cooldown rotations and things like that. So I always play healers in dungeons and stuff like that on my alts. But I do like to DPS as well. I think the main thing that's actually putting me off is from going full-time DPS is that dungeon queues and queues in general is just longer as a DPS, and I don't have the patience for those queues.
I do miss the days where I was tanking and it was almost insta queues. No matter what I wanted to do, there was always a spot for me ready to go. Yet now with the Ret Paladin, it's like, okay, you have 30-minute wait to do this LFR, and I'm just like, excuse me? I wasn't even planning on being out that long. I was planning on downing that wing in about 15 minutes and moving on somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, just the other day, one of my guilders, where I saw him queue up, because you can, if people on your friends list or in your guild queues up, you can see it pops up, and I was like, oh, I actually want to do that as well. So I joined him, and the second I joined as a healing spec, the queue popped instantly.
Oh, so that's what we need to do. Okay. Gotta tell all my guild members, like, who's healing, who wants to do LFR, just group up with me. Even if you don't want to do it, just group up and then leave midway through or something. Just get me in there, and then you could leave. That's all I need.
Maybe I could charge gold for that, couldn't I?
Probably, you know.
I see Ryan is nodding. Ryan is nodding. Yeah, yep.
Ryan's like, you could pay
Man,
me.
you can charge gold for everything right now. Yeah, take me, man. No, I actually I keep my elemental shaman. He's got a resto spec that's up to speed. I think I'm only a few item levels behind my elemental, and so I queue a lot of times as resto just because I hate dealing with the queue timers. And they've actually started utilizing me as a swing healer off and on in my mythic guild. I'm like the second or third option swing healer, so if we end up doing 6 healers, I swing in. But yeah, no, I hate the queue timer. It's stupid. And the part that I don't get, and Marty, you may remember this, is once upon a time, tanks had the shortest queue, because when you think about a guild, you have 4 to 5 healers, you have your raid team, and then you have 1 to 2 tanks. And so you always had less tanks than you had of any other role. And so
Mhm.
tanks were always out in the population, were always needed because there was arguably less of them proportionally to the other two roles. And now, for whatever reason, tanks, like even if you queue a tank, you're going to see a 10, 15-minute timer wait time. But if you queue as a healer, it's like you said, Marty, it's like instant, you know? So I don't get that. I don't know. Maybe everybody's keeping their melee
You-
DPS tank spec up or what?
Could it? So the queue is longer. That means that there's more of them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I just needed to get that right in my head. So do you think that could have something to do with Mythic Plus? That there might be actually more tanks about now because
Probably.
more tanks are needed for 5-man groups overall.
Not just that, but possibly look into the idea that maybe just it's more fun to be a tank right now, maybe in certain areas. Maybe like the Mythic Plus adds a little bit more to it. I actually really enjoyed being a tank. The only reason I kind of switched over was because I was planning on raiding, and I didn't want to be that person that wasn't able to tank the raid. So that's why I kind of switched over. And I've been enjoying it. I think I'm in the wrong spec at the moment, and I'm toying with the idea on switching my main class, but I'm so attached to my palette, and it was my first character that I've built up, and he's gone through some changes. He's been a dwarf, he's been a tauren, he's been a dwarf again. He's had some life issues that he's had to work through, so I'm kind of attached to him. But I am looking to see maybe something different for BFA, but I'm not 100% sure. I figure it'll be a good time to start because I won't have to worry about the artifact, weapon, all that grinding that kind of went in at the beginning of Legion. Like, now it's not as bad, but I remember in the beginning of Legion, it was like, this is the worst expansion for alts ever.
Oh yes.
No one's ever going to have 2 110s except Brian, who has like 13. Like, no big deal. Or Marty, who has all of them.
Yeah, I mean it has gotten easier, but I think that's one of the reasons why I just stuck to my main throughout this whole expansion was that I could not. Oh my god! If I had to grind all that stuff again and get legendaries and weapon, it was no. I'm happy to stay with my main, to be honest. But to that being said, though, as you said, it is getting a bit easier now. It has been easier now. For instance, I can say that my warrior has been like max level for I don't know less than a day in playtime, or maybe roughly a day in playtime, and my main weapon is 65 or 66 or something, and my off spec weapon is right behind it. So it is fairly easy right now to get the weapon up there. But the legendaries is still an issue I find for an alt that you don't play full time, or for a character that you don't play full time.
It's still an issue for me with my main.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sure, the essences does help, but it's still 1,000 essences that you need to grind out, and it does take a while if you don't play that character like full time and do everything on it, which I don't have time to do, sadly.
I finally have 2 legendaries that are in the top 7 legendaries for my class. I was so happy that they're like, hey, if you have even 2 of these, then you're kind of set pretty decently. So I finally got them, and I was very happy about it because I've been getting all the crap legendaries, it seems. But I'm still trying to farm for those good ones to just build that DPS up. I want to get it up more.
Fair enough. I think before we move away from alt, I think I've been thinking about switching the game up a little bit and actually get a new main for the next expansion. I don't really know what I want to do yet. I haven't really decided. Maybe I'll stick with my priest because that's usually what happens. But at least I want to go through and figure out if maybe I should mix things up and try something new. And just to quickly plug Ryan's other podcast, the Raiders Confessional, that I'm a part of now as well. We've been talking about doing episodes. I hope it's all right to spoil a little bit, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're talking about doing some episodes where we go through all the classes one by one. So one episode is one class and talk about if this could be a potential main for Battle for Azeroth, sorry.
Battle for mains!
And Ryan, Ryan, you're doing the same, right? You don't really
Yeah.
know what main you want to have in Battle for Azeroth. So I think that's a solid is it 13 episodes right there? 13 classes, right?
Yeah. Something like that.
So something like
Well,
that.
and then if you look at the different specs, I mean, Druid. I mean, obviously, if you're going to play Rogue, there's not a huge difference between Assassin, Subtlety, and Outlaw. You know, switching back and forth is fairly easy to do. But like Druids, you know, going from Feral to Boomkin to Guardian to Resto, I mean, that's arguably 4 different classes in one single class. But like I was noticing here, Alessandro made a comment in chat before the expansion. After Blizzard changes our classes, see if they've ruined my current favorite, and if I need to find something else to play next expansion. You know, as a Mythic Raider, as somebody who enjoys progressive raiding, that's one of the biggest things that I look at is, you know, obviously I want to play a class that I find fun. There are a few classes, just the way their rotations and stuff are, I don't enjoy them. But so to me, the balance is I need to find a class that I'm going to enjoy being on every day, but I need to also find a class that's going to be able to pull its weight. You know, so that's definitely one of the 2 of the biggest deciding factors for me. You know, I think that's a valid comment from Alessander.
I was about to ask you guys if like that came into your minds, because both of you raid Mythic and Marty's been doing healing since the beginning. So if you're thinking on switching like a main, is that going in with the intent of I'm gonna still Mythic raid with this new main, or is it simply like I'm just taking a different outlook on the game now and maybe taking a step back to casual? Or like if you switch to DPS, are you gonna try to do Mythic raiding as that new DPS?
I would definitely. I think, I mean, if our guild, if the people I'm playing with right now, if it's still together in BFA, which I think it should be, we're still going strong right now. So I think a lot of things should happen for us not to go into BFA. But yeah, if the guild is together and I choose a new main, then my intent would definitely be to raid with this character. But for me, it's also, I mean, sure, if you know, if it's performing well, it's obviously an important thing. But for me, it's also if I don't want to get bored 2 months down the line. Obviously, you can never be like 100% sure that won't happen anyway. But I definitely want something to be fun as well. Because if I'm not having fun with the class, then what's the point in playing the game anyway? It's about having fun as well, right?
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Marty. I would suspect one of the bigger struggles for you in terms of maybe deciding to switch off your main is your guild going to have someone who's going to be willing and able to step into that healing role that you're arguably leaving open if you step away from it, right?
Mm-hmm. And you know, the short answer is we do.
Okay, right on. Yeah, because that's the other hard part is like if you want to play a warrior, but 15 other people in your raid want to play a warrior, it's like, well, I'm not going to play a warrior. And that's actually part of one of the biggest reasons I've switched mains so many times is early on when I was raid leading that guild, I was switching to characters we didn't have any of, you know, and I was trying to keep our raid composition diverse. And twice when I made the switch, I had 2 or 3 other raiders make the switch, you know, and I'd already gone through the trouble of gearing those characters up. So my elemental shaman actually was supposed to be my main going into Antorus, and then I switched to Fury Warrior, and then I had 2 other people switch to Fury Warrior, so I got off that, and that's how I ended up on my lock in Antorus. So you know, it was kind of easy to go back to my elemental shaman, but trying to make sure your raid comp, especially BFA, with some of the comments that Ian has said so far, if you're in a progressive raiding team, it's going to be kind of crucial to bring the right composition. So making sure you're filling all the voids is going to be a big thing.
Guess who has no worries about all that? This guy right here. Okay, that's one of the best things about kind of being a casual player is that I can just decide without really too much thought. Just be like, you know what? I feel like switching. I don't have to worry about
today. I feel like a gnome mage.
Yeah, I want to be a gnome protection warrior because I actually have one of those. Like it's like low level, but
with pink hair and pigtails, right?
It's just a little gnome, just being the protection warrior, protecting the group, holding it down with a shield that's bigger than him. That's the dream.
I used my warrior used to be a girl gnome with pigtails and pink hair, and I liked the idea of her tanking so much. But when you then actually play a gnome, I was really put off by how the armor looks in them and how. I mean, sure, the weapons looked amazing because they were so big, but the armor just didn't look good on them, I thought. So I couldn't stand her, and I actually put that ult on a long hiatus for a long time until I was like, I want to play warrior, but I don't want to play a gnome, so I race changed it to a human, and since then I actually felt way better about playing my warrior.
I think that any character that I want to roll, if I make a new one, I have to really think about it, because my mind, now that I see how the game works, wants to go straight to human simply because of the rep. Simply because of
Yes.
how many things and how many times I've had to grind for reputation, that I'm just like, I need to take this off a bit. Let me just go human, get that rep bonus, and just, while everyone else is like, this rep grind sucks, I'm like, what do you mean? I finished it like last week. Got 2 ults on the side that finished it too.
That's the thing. If I decide to stay with my priest right now, then and in the beginning of the expansion, I will have to race change it, because right now she's a void elf. She used to be human, but now she's a void elf. But when the expansion hits, and if I stay on that character, back to human straight away. That rep increased rep bonus, that's so worth it to me.
Yep.
Yeah. I think, obviously, my also opinion, I've noticed this too. I kind of have this weird ability to turn off like the mind thinking about stuff like that. So multiple times now I've grinded out reps with off races other than humans, and it hasn't really carried. But I would definitely think that would be a bigger issue for 2 groups of people, either the casual groups of people who can't log on consistently, or the really hardcore people where it's like, I have to get this done as absolutely fast as possible. But yeah, humans are nice for sure. All of my characters other than my shaman are human at the moment.
I'm assuming that you used like world quests and stuff like that mainly, right? Gathering that rep, like just going in, doing every world quest in that zone as many times as you can.
Yeah.
Seems like for me that gets boring after doing it one time. I'm like, even now, I'm just like, don't.
I have guildies who are like who were like doing this whole artifact power grind, that they were just like, all right, there's an artifact power world quest up, I will do that right now. Oh, there is 10 of those quests up, I will do those 10 now. They just vacuum cleaned the map every day and every time they were online. So I mean, there is people who do that, I reckon, and I can't get into that mindset, because grinding like that is boring to me. It's just doing the same thing over and over. It's something I can do from time to time. I remember some of the old reputations where you could just kill mobs over and over, one specific type of mobs, and then you can get ripped that way. And I was like, that's something I can do for a weekend or something, so I can just finish off this rep and get it over and done with. But doing that every day for like, I don't know, 6 months, how long the tier was up, I couldn't do that. I would go mental.
I think I remember you did it once in Legion, where you completely cleared your map of world quests and you sent me and Tom a picture like, look, there's no more world quests on it. And then I go and I look at mine and all of them are up, and I'm just like, congratulations. I'm gonna do whatever my emissary requires, and that's it.
I can honestly say I've never targeted specific world quests just for the individual rep you get from that world quest. I've only done rep via the emissaries, but I have done a few days where, like, one day I honestly got bored and just had Netflix going, and I did all of the world quest. But I have done a few days where, like, especially when I was really close to the cusp of getting the next artifact level at the beginning of a tier, where I've gone and cleared all the AP world quests. But I've never done that multiple days in a row, and it's usually been like months in between, because that is horrible. Not fun.
The dude who did that, he had a motto that was like, AP is life. And then he started grinding.
That's nuts, man. Good for him, I guess, but I can't do it.
Yeah, but yeah, Alessandra actually said some people love that, just see Diablo 3. And I know quite a few people who actually do that, who jump into Diablo 3 every season and just go crazy and grinds to I don't know how high, like crazy amounts of stuff. It's too long since I played Diablo 3, so I can't even remember what it's called anymore. but yeah, there is people like that, and we have quite a few of those in our guild. We have like a hunter who just he basically cleared the map every day. He did everything. He was for a very long time the highest AP weapon, like 10 levels ahead of everybody, and he's crazy, man. But he sort of did burn out towards the end, though. He's not really with us at the moment. So I mean, that is also that's the thing that can happen if that, in my opinion. So just watch out, play the game and have fun with it. That's my recommendation.
I know some people in my guild are a little upset because they kind of go through it where they target certain areas because they want like the mounts and things like that. And I have the Dreamweaver's mount, the what is it, the Emerald Unicorn or something like that.
Oh, the unicorn, yeah.
Yeah.
I have that as well.
I
have that as well. That's amazing.
And they're like I've been targeting that for months and I still haven't gotten it. And I'm just like, oh, I was just filling in. It told me to do 4 world quests, so I did it, and then I went and I got it. No big deal. But then again, I'm farming one of the rares on Argus, trying to get a mount, and it has not spawned for me, or it spawned, but I haven't gotten the mount, and I'm starting to get upset because I've killed it like 6 or 7 times, and I still haven't gotten it.
Only 6 and 7s. Oh, come on, Michael. That's nothing.
I just started it like a week or so ago.
But yeah, speaking of mounts, old mounts and stuff like that, something that a lot of people do towards the end of an expansion is also going back to old content. Stone said in the chat that since he has, what was it, 26 max level characters, that's also more chances to go for the mounts every week if there's like specific drops in instances and things like that. Do you guys go back and play old content as well to, I don't know, get transmog, to get mounts, stuff like that? Ryan, being a Mythic Raider, do you do that?
Yeah, actually, I started doing that a couple weeks ago. Took a break, but right now, in its current state, my Demon Hunter is at the top of the list as potential mains. So I started farming Black Temple, obviously, for the because once that time walking comes around, it's the only legendary you can be able to transmog if you've unlocked the achievement. But started doing some leathering stuff to get some transmogs with them. What are you gonna say, Michael?
I hate Black Temple. I went through and cleared it like just on my own, and I was like, this place is way too big. It takes forever to get anywhere, and I didn't look up anything, so it took me a while to find my way around, because you have to go somewhere, and then that opens up a certain area, and I'm like, where the hell am I? I did not like Black Temple.
No, it is an annoying instance to navigate around, to be honest.
But I started going through. I kind of messed something up, so I wasn't able to get it. There's what is it? There's a dungeon. It's a troll dungeon. I think it was Cataclysm, maybe Zul'Gurub or something.
Zulaman, Zul'jin, one of those two.
Zul'jin is the troll, not the.
No, sorry, Zulaman or Zul'Gurub.
I think it's Zul'Gurub. Like there's a ritual going on, and you have to like clear the first 4 bosses within a certain amount of time, and killing those bosses. And I want to go, and then once you complete that, then you're able to get a mount that's in one of the bags that one of the NPCs drops. So
yeah, I think that's what Sulaman.
Okay, yeah. So I've been doing
it's
that
the
one.
Bear mount, I think, right?
Yeah. It's like an armored bear or something like that.
Yeah.
So I need to go through there and still get that mount. That's what I'm trying to get. It's 100% drop if you're solo, but you just have to do it in the right order and on time. But I go through old content all the time. It's still new content for me.
I mean, I do it from time to time. It's not something that I do like religiously every week, but I do tend to, you know, the character that I play the most, besides my main, obviously. For instance, right now I'm doing I'm doing my warrior, so I'm doing a lot of trying to get a lot of play transmogs, obviously, and there's the occasional mounts that I farm, but do it. I don't do it religiously every week though. I simply don't have time to it. I think a lot of it is mainly like a time constraint. That if I actually had more time to do it, I probably would go through everything and just clear everything every week and things like that. But sadly, I don't have the time.
Well, let me ask you this, Marty. And I was telling Dusty this the other day because he asked me this question. I said, right now, part of one of my drives to kill Mythic Argus is, even if I know it's not true, I feel like if I get on and I do something other than on my main character, I feel like I'm neglecting doing something I should be doing on my main. Just because it's been so ingrained in me since day one of Legion. And right now my shaman's sitting at like 972 item level. I'm almost at 80 artifact traits, and it's just like, what do I really honestly need to do on him other than show up for raids, and do my 115 every week? But if I get on and do something on my Demon Hunter, I go do the Mage Char on my Druid, I'm like, on my Shaman, I'm like, God, I should probably go do Emissaries, or I should probably go run my random daily heroic, or I'm like, wait a second, no, I don't,
Yeah, I think right now I don't really have that feeling. Right now I'm all right with playing an ult, but I definitely doing Legion. There has been times where I'm like, I cannot play ults right now. I need to focus on my main. I need to grind the artifact power. I need to get my 15 done. I need to get do all the raids that I can get in and things like that. I think this expansion has really felt like you had to keep focus on your main if you wanted to raid Mythic. That especially since that in some cases there's actually gear from the previous raid for some classes that were still was interesting and actually better than the gear you could currently get in the current tier and things like that. I really felt like it really had to do a lot of things just to keep your main up to date all the time.
And I have this nasty habit of wanting to play other games. So, like, we're talking about all these things that we're able to do in game, and truthfully, like, it's allowing me the chance to kind of go back and play other games. Like Ryan, I logged into Diablo, mainly so I get my little battle cruiser pet. It's a lot smaller than I was expecting, to be honest, but it's still a battle cruiser, so it's pretty cool. I've logged into all the games this week to just see what kind of cool StarCraft loot I can get, because...
Is that the one you have to go into, like, the major city and salute a pet in WoW?
Yeah. Like, no, that's not... So, that one you'll get, like, a random pet. It's like a no, not a Murloc. It's a Baneling, a Zergling. I forget what the other ones are. But, yeah, you'll salute, and then you'll get that pet.
I thought it was only you only got an achievement. Because we talked about it.
It might just be an achievement. Salute for loot. That's what it was.
Oh, yeah. Feat of Strength, exactly. Right?
Yeah.
So there's no pet.
I was
pets
thinking,
allowed.
Wishful thinking, I guess.
I do want to build on what Alessandro said in the chat, that the Kerrigan skin in Overwatch is pretty darn sweet. It looks pretty darn good. They've been doing the comparisons in Overwatch that they do for Widowmaker, especially, I feel. Like, she has the Nova... She has the Kerrigan now. Like, it's just... Blizzard, where's your originality? All your characters start to look the same now. Come on. This one character is fitting three realms now.
That is actually true. She does need a Jaina skin now.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
I'm down with that. Jaina's my boo.
Boo? Bae? Boo? Bae boo.
And Khadgar's not a shit wizard.
He's just a lazy one, then.
But I like lazy guys. He's funny.
To be honest, now that we brought up Khadgar, I really thought...
Oh God, here we go.
Yeah, there was so many theories in World of Warcraft because Khadgar returned and now his beard was gone. He was youthful again, and he had the staff, the Medivh staff, out of nowhere, and so much has happened with that character that wasn't explained. He was just all of a sudden there. So there were these theories that maybe he was like possessed by something like Medivh, or maybe it was just an imposter that looked like Khadgar, and because he came back and he felt like such a silly character in World of Draenor instead of this like wise mage that he's been betrayed of in the old lore, and I still sort of feel that he is sort of they've toned it back in Legion, but I still feel like he's a little bit out of place compared to at least my image of Khadgar from the novels and from the earlier iterations of him. It felt like he got retconned pretty heavily.
Blizzard doesn't retcon characters.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, that was a misfire. I hit a wrong button there.
So let me get this straight, Marty. You're saying that just the kind of the gap between stories from one expansion to the next, especially in the case of Khadgar.
I think Cat Guy is one of the big ones, yeah, because it was so weird. He just came out of nowhere, had the Guardian staff, and he got aged like magically, and that's why he had was looking old, even though he's young. He's still young, but he's looking old. He was looking old and stuff like that, and he was just plain silly. It didn't feel like Cat Guy at all to me.
Fell Murlocs? Is there anything the Legion won't touch?
Yeah, characteristically, I know that's been one of the biggest complaints out of the community is all of a sudden you have this charismatic, fun-loving, kind of always being sarcastic mage that wasn't indicative of the Khadgar we knew.
No,
prior
it
to
feels
that
like
point.
the other mage who died. I can't remember his name. He was the one that saved Jaina when the bomb fell over.
Oh, yeah.
What's his face?
Ronin? Is that it? Was that it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ronin. The way that Cat Guy is behaving, that's Ronin to me. But it's not Cat Guy because Ronin was this like, the silly mage. He kind of stumbled into adventures and things like that in my mind at least. And so how they portray Cat Guy now is Ronin to me.
Well, maybe now that Khadgar has white hair, maybe he's just now the Azeroth version of an old guy sitting on his porch, making funny comments. He's just doesn't care anymore.
Or maybe they just forgot to tell us that there is an alternate timeline Khadgar that made his way through.
Michael, don't say those words.
Time
it
traveling
shudders.
expansion incoming? Anyone?
No, we already had that.
Let's hop in our
alternate
DeLoreans
timelines
and
need
get
to
ready
die
for an
with Gul'dan.
adventure.
All right. I think we have like roughly 10 minutes left. So let's quickly talk a little bit about what we know so far of Battle for Azeroth. And this is where I hope you guys can take over a little bit because I haven't really looked too much into it lately. Been a little bit too busy, but I know you, Michael, wanted to talk a little bit about Battle for Azeroth. So let's just throw the microphone over to you, Catch, and take it away.
All right, so I've kind of been keeping tabs on it a bit. I do have access to the alpha, but I haven't really been in there all that much. For the most part, it's definitely not ready yet. It's changing daily and things like that. But some things that are exciting is getting to see a bit of the dungeons and the ideas that they're having for the dungeons. And to me, and from what I've seen, it's pretty clear that they're leaning heavily into Mythic Plus. They're really pushing it in these dungeons, and I'm really excited for that. I think like this next expansion, especially in the beginning, I'm gonna go really hard into Mythic Plus. It's something that I wish I would have done earlier on and didn't do because of just how uncomfortable I was with the idea of letting down a group or whatever. But now, guess what, world? I'm not afraid to let you down. I'll do it all day. Okay?
Screw you, I'm going home.
Yeah, like go ahead, get upset. What's the worst that could happen? Kick me from the group? Don't care. No. But I don't know, Ryan, have you looked into any of the dungeons at all?
Yeah, actually, watched a few streams. I don't have access to the alpha, but I've watched a few streams of SCO, a few Final Boss TV ones, a lot of Preach ones. And you're absolutely right. They are very much designed for Mythic Plus. A few of them have a lot of open areas with a lot of mobs just kind of wandering around. So I think it's going to play more on the decision factor of, which groups are you going to pull, CCing and stuff like that, and kind of the struggle of having to navigate through without pulling more than you want to. So I think you're right, and I'm really excited for it. Mythic Plus has been a huge success this expansion, especially coming off the backbone of challenge mode. So for Blizzard to continue to run with that, I think is awesome.
One thing that I do hope is that during this expansion they're able to balance it a little bit more, where I know we were running into issues where people were saying, why do raids when I could just do Mythic Plus and still get that same. So I do hope that even though we are putting a big push on it, and we do have the Mythic Dungeon Invitational and all, like, it's picking up steam, I still do hope that there is that incentive for the raiders out there to keep raiding higher and higher difficulty. I don't mind being a Mythic, if I'm a high level Mythic Dungeon runner, I don't mind having raiders above me. in terms of better gear.
No, I totally agree, man. This ever since coming off of Wrath and them doing away with 10-man heroics, the community has been crying for smaller in-game content in terms of raid or group size. And so I think this 5-man Mythic Plus stuff is really, really good for that. You know, there's a lot of people who don't have time to consistently get on every Tuesday night, but they do have 4 other people they can kind of wing it every week and get on and make some time for Mythic Pluses. So this is a great way to fulfill that need for a different sect of the community. Yeah, absolutely. You know, yourself. So
I love Mythic Plus. I think it's one of the best additions that the game has gotten in a very, very long time. So I'm definitely looking forward to checking out the next level of Mythic Plus, because I don't know, do we know any other changes? Have you seen any? Are they going to change things up for the next expansion? Do we know anything yet, or is it just so far we have just seen the dungeon?
So we've seen the dungeon. There's also been talks about that they're going to be adding some new affixes. I don't know if they're getting rid of any and adding in new ones to replace those, or if they're just simply keeping all the ones that they have now and then adding in more. So we know that they're going to add more in. That's already been said. So
yeah,
right
makes
now
sense.
I think that's the extent of it. And then we'll see, because there's also class changes going on. Not as extensive as the Legion changes were, because from what I understand, Legion kind of overhauled a lot of classes and kind of rebuilt them a bit. We're gonna have smaller things, like maybe reworks and things like that. For instance, the Demonology Warlock has been having some changes, where they have like 1 million little minions out there at once, which is pretty exciting to see. Like Ryan said, I was watching some Preach videos as well, where he just had a bunch of little imps out there casting fell fireballs all over the place, and I mean that's pretty cool to me.
Yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to see the proper changes to the classes as well. I think a lot of people is calling it a shit show right now.
Yeah,
the different.
Right now, I mean, it's still alpha, so it's
Exactly. That was my point. That
Yeah.
even I was thinking about it before the show when you said you wanted to talk about this. That. I don't really mind right now that things is not in how it should be, because it's an alpha. It's a bloody alpha. It's meant to be. I mean, for an alpha, it's really, really polished. Don't get me wrong, but obviously things will change. So I mean, sure, Blizzard wants the feedback. Blizzard do want to hear what you think and about the classes, and if things feels underpowered, overpowered, whatever. But going on forums and stuff and calling everything a shit show is probably not what I would do right now, because hey, come on, it's still in development, right? It's still quite
now
a few
is the
months
time
away.
for them to, like, if they're having any experimental ideas, now is the time to throw it in there and actually
to
get
try
some
it
people
out.
to test it out. Like, I know they've
See how it works.
I don't know if you've seen, but they're completely changing up the what is the hunter survival? Yeah, they're completely changing the survival, and from what I've heard so far, it's positive changes. I think they're bringing back.
I don't think they had to do too many changes to actually make survival like a positive change, to be honest.
It just tweak some numbers, and it's already better than what it was.
Yeah. I don't know. It never felt good to me, and I'm looking forward to see if what they're doing with specifically hunters, because I'm one of the mains that I'm thinking of going to is a hunter, because I always liked playing hunter, but I do hope that, for instance, Beastmaster get a little bit more of stuff to do, because it feels like a really boring spec to play at the moment, I find. But I really like Beastmaster. I've always liked Beastmaster because of all the pets that you can get, and it feels really good that you're just unleashing, sort of like the Warlocks. You just unleash a ton of pets in the face of the enemy and things like that. So I hope that they're tweaking those and adding things to those, so it actually feels a little bit more interesting to play.
Yeah, I always thought it was a bit weird that they kind of have like just one pet out at a time, but you're like a beast master. Like, if you have a wolf, why can't you kind of have like multiple wolves that like attack the enemy as a pack type deal? I can understand a bear. Okay, not many people are gonna be walking around with a bunch of bears. Okay, like I can understand you got like one that's taking some damage for you and doing that. So I'm kind of right there. I like the idea of a Beastmaster ever since I remember seeing the initial vanilla introduction. That dwarf walking with the bear right by him on top of the mountain.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the chat right now, and Alessandro, you're absolutely right. You have Stampede, and for me, it's like I would absolutely, in my mind, kind of to go on what Michael and Marty are saying, I would love to kind of play more onto that Beastmaster side of things, and for me, that kind of plays itself out in my head as like, okay, you have one main pet that's always out, kind of helping you do damage, tank or whatever you have it set to, but then you could also like, you know, in part of your rotation, you send a hawk out to swing through and gouge the enemy's eyes for X amount of damage, you know, or you could, you know, you have all these little side pets that you periodically weave in to do specific things as part of your rotation. So having more of your damage rely on your interaction with multiple beasts, you know, and obviously still keeping some of the core concepts of beast mastery as well as like stuff like Stampede, you know.
A swarm of pigeons.
A bunch of cute puppies run out and distract the boss.
Just like
just says send pigeons away with like messages like SOS need help, stuff like that.
that. And one final thing that I had just to discuss really quickly without any spoilers is that it seems like at the moment the Horde is kind of getting the better end of the stick in terms of storytelling. And zone.
Oh, I heard the opposite. I
Did
heard
you?
the opposite. I heard the Alliance storyline is really, really good from Beliar, I think it was. I watched the video yesterday.
I heard that the Horde is really getting the better end of the stick there. I heard that the Alliance side is having, while the story is good, I've heard that there's a lot of filler in there. There's a
Okay.
lot of filler quests that feel disjointed, while the Horde is a solid like 3 hours or so of just straight like every quest. Even the side quest has characters that have an impact, and it all comes together at the end.
Okay, well, I have to admit that I haven't checked out the questing on the story too much because that's
save
one
it.
area of the game. That's one area of the game where I sort of want to be unspoiled. So yeah, I don't know if I will be jumping into that.
Yeah, I haven't looked into the specifics of the story because I want to experience the story, but that's just kind of what I've heard is that one end is a little bit better. But like we said, it's alpha. It can still change once all that stuff is put in. Who knows?
A lot of things can change, yeah. But yeah, Beliar actually had a pretty good video about Horde versus Alliance bias that you can check out as well. But yeah, I don't know. To me, I don't know. I think we've had it pretty good as Alliance characters, players recently.
Yeah,
And you're just nodding. All the audio listeners is happy that you're just nodding to me.
they could
That's,
feel it. They were all nodding too. We were letting it sink in because
Right.
everyone knows about the
Michael, or
Anduin
Marty?
quest. Everyone knows about the Anduin quest.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I think it's time for us to close it down and get the hell out of here.
Let's do it.
If I can find the right button.
Last orders! Last orders!
So here we are. We are at the end. So you out there who are listening, what do you think will happen in BFA? Do you have any thoughts about what's in the alpha right now? What are you doing at the end of the expansion? Let us know. And remember, stay around as well, because after the show we have the Fresh Report. But Michael, since Tom is not here, would you do the honors? Tell the people where to find us.
They can email the show at thebluereclusepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at The Blue Recluse. You can also find us over on thebluerecluse.eu/Discord. We got plenty of chats going on there. Sometimes you might even get some free games. You can leave a review for us over on iTunes, or you can find us over at thebluerecluse.eu for all of our show notes and more.
Thank you so much. And not Michael, Ryan. Your name is Ryan. Hello, Ryan.
Oh.
How you doing?
Hi.
So you're part of a few podcasts as well. Where can you find those and what are they about?
I don't know if I can say that. I'm a little offended right now, Marty. I'm having trouble getting over it. But yeah, no, guys, you can find me personally on Twitch and Twitter at McIrish Gaming. You can find Marty and myself over on the other podcast that I do about all things raiding in the world of Azeroth, the Raider's Confessional, or you can find me on the All Blizzard Games podcast I do with a good friend Dusty Porter, the Blizzard Umbrella.
Very good. And I think with those words, there's not too much to say, really, right, Michael?
No, I think we're good to go.
We're through it. So I'm just trying to spend some time here because the outro song doesn't end until 2 minutes from now, and I can't really fade it out because this program won't allow it. I don't know what's going on.
Just make weird things in the camera. 2 minutes.
But what about the audio listeners, Ryan?
All right. I think I can do this. So you out there who are listening, thank you so much. And you out there who are watching, because we're on Twitch now as well. This is live streamed on Twitch. You can totally do that as well. Thank you so much for listening and watching. And thank you for the chat, for actually sharing your opinions with us today as well. It's been great. So those words, I think there's nothing else to say. But thank you for listening / watching. See you next week. Say goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Goodbye, guys.
Welcome to the Frazzle Report. I am Frazzly, and today is Friday, March 9th, 2018. With the news from Eurogamer that Diablo 3 may be coming to the Switch, we also have news from our source in Blizzard, Bubbles, that World of Warcraft is actually coming to a toaster. This project will be called World of Warcraft Toasted Edition. Thanks to Bubbles adding us to a group chat, we were able to talk over Facebook Messenger with the project lead. We will read some of the transcripts from our chat. The Toasted Edition project lead said, quote, "People have always said WoW can be run on a toaster, so we decided to put this to the test. It was a burning desire for us," unquote. Then I asked them how the game runs. Quote, "We never asked ourselves if we should, only if we could. It runs like you'd expect, very sluggish at times, just like it does on the computers that get nicknamed a toaster. Running Rage is a challenge. Our characters usually end up burnt to a crisp in Antris," unquote. I asked them how long it has been in development. They said, quote, "For about 4 years. The issue has been getting a toaster with the right specs, as well as a screen to run it on. Some of the earlier models would not correctly toast your bread, or the toasting would fry the computer. Some of the toasters just gave up in frustration and caught on fire," unquote. I asked the developer if this was related to the Diablo news. They responded, quote, "This is a separate project. It was started during the lull of Warlords of Draenor content. Some of the WoW content team loved this idea so much, they actually left the main game to work on this project. And some of the team for the Diablo 3 Switch project came from this team," unquote. I asked them when this project is supposed to release. They said, quote, "This project is still on its way, but it's getting jammed up by manufacturing, probably in the next 3 years," unquote. I then asked them if running WoW is coming to more devices and possibly to consoles. They responded, quote, "That is still up in the air. This project has taught us a lot about bringing a complex game like WoW to such a complicated and limited device like a toaster," unquote. That was the end of our conversation as the dev had to go put out a fire. One of the toasters that they use had just caught fire at that moment. Maybe if we butter up the devs, more projects like this might pop up. This has been the Frazzle Report. I am Frazzly Sparkspan. You can find the show at frazzlereport.com. Until next week, be awesome.
This show is brought to you by Dragon Powered Studio. Find more at dragonpoweredstudio.com.